Hi there. I was inspired to talk to you today about being over 50 and never been married. This may be you, and it may be someone you're dating. Um, as a dating coach, I work with a lot of my clients who are coming out of bad marriages and divorces. And I also work with a lot of singles. Many of them are over 50 and have never been married before. One of my clients is in his 70s, and he's on a dating site. And very often the women on the site will ask him this question. So you've never been married before? And my self-talk is they're really thinking, what's wrong with you? And his response is, I know I've never been married before, but I've also never been divorced. So I want to acknowledge, first of all, that there are many happy marriages out there. And I do have a lot of clients who come to me. When they come to me, they're out of bad relationships and bad marriages. And we always look at the past relationships and red flags. And most of them saw the red flag before they got married. It was maybe even a deal breaker. And I'm curious, and I ask why. Why did you go through with the wedding, with the marriage? And I hear things like, well, I didn't want to be alone, or I'm not getting any younger. All my friends were doing it, were getting married. I wanted to have children, all of these things. But as you know, with the red flags, if there's a red flag at the beginning of the relationship, very often it's the reason people end the relationship 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years later. So full disclosure, I'm 62 and I've never been married. I was engaged at 39 and we were madly in love, and I had the gown and the ring, and my mother was about to write invitations out to address them. And I had to call her up and say, hey, Mom, we're going to call for the wedding. And that was a very bold move for me at that age. But I don't regret it. We were madly in love and very different. And we argued all the time, and he had anger issues. So I wasn't supported by everyone for making this decision. In fact, my brother, who cared, I remember having a phone conversation with him, and he said, "You're not getting any younger, Tree. You're turning 40. And I'm thinking, well, that's a really good reason to get married. And someone else shared with me when I talked about my ex having anger issues, that her husband has anger issues. And I thought but didn't say, well, I would never marry someone like him. So society really frowns upon this. And I believe that, it's a very healthy decision that tells you something about the person's self-esteem, that they would rather than be in an unhealthy relationship and unhappy, they love themselves enough that they'd rather be alone, and they choose that over security of an unhappy marriage. So this is certainly the road less traveled, and I commend anyone who's taken this path. Part of what I do as a dating coach is I examine past relationships. We look at the red flags, patterns. There's sometimes patterns of who you attract, and so that you could heal and move on and attract a healthier partner. We do forgiveness work, cord work, however bizarre that might sound to some people, but sometimes you have a cord energetically attached to someone. And once I did this with a woman in a session, and she was beautiful in her 40s. She was on dating sites, and I'm thinking, well, why hasn't she met someone? And by the 5th session, I found out about the old boyfriend that kept on coming back in her life. And once we did this cord work, literally she called me on the next session and canceled. She says, I met the love of my life. So if you would like to chat about this topic or need any support in your dating life, I'm going to put my email in the comments and my website, where you could schedule a complimentary Call on Your Soulmate strategy session. And I appreciate also any comments or takeaways that you'd like to share in the chat as well. Thank you. Happy dating.